everybody, and welcome back to another live session here on the Mama Magic Instagram page. Today we're going to be tackling a very fun topic, especially now during the pandemic, during COVID-19. It's a lot of, it raises a lot of questions. A lot of moms need answers. They need to be prepared and all of that fun stuff. So today I'm going to be joined by Sister Des from @smallbeginnings_DBN, and we're going to be chatting about hospital bags for both mom and baby. So this is going to be a very interesting topic. I'm really excited to see what questions you guys come up with. I'm excited also for the information that Sister Des is going to be sharing with you guys so that you guys can be well prepared for the delivery of your little bundles of joy, so you don't forget anything as you make your way to the hospital. So I'm going to go ahead and try join in, Sister Des. Please join in. I see you're on the on this live session. There we go. Midwife as well as nurse, and she qualified in 1982, way before my time. She has been in the educational field of midwifery since 1990, pretty much during my time. She started both the antenatal classes and the baby clinic for Westville Life Hospital in 1998, and that until 2005. She then decided to return to Devon North area and started her own private clinic. She teaches antenatal classes, which are done online now because of COVID-19. And the baby clinic, she sees mothers and babies on an appointment basis that is separated completely from a medical center. She assists them with weighing babies, breastfeeding, routines, solids, and immunization. She's a mom of 3 children, so she has both personal experience as well as professional in the field, on which she has given numerous talks over the years. So, Sister Des, nice to meet you, meet you anyway, and thank you for joining us on this chat today.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really very excited to, I didn't know you guys are doing this Insta Lives now with Mama Magic, and I think it's so exciting. And that
it is very exciting. Now, I'm specifically really excited for this topic because personally, I have my own Instagram page, and I have a few moms who've been asking me, what do I pack in my hospital bag, especially now during the pandemic? And I honestly have no idea, because I know packing bags under normal circumstances and not necessarily during a pandemic. So I'm very excited for all the information that you're going to be sharing with us today. But before we go ahead and dive in, can you please tell us a little bit more about your working experience with moms and moms-to-be?
Yes, thank you for asking. Well, basically, as you said, I've been doing this since 1998, and that's when I started at Westville Life Hospital. I started the baby clinic and the antenatal for them then. I had been doing some private clinic and private education before that, but it was quite nice to eventually go and work on my own. And then in 2004, as you mentioned, I actually started my own clinic in Devon North, and I've been doing that since then. So it's been very exciting to be able to do it on my own and to just, well, get to know all these families over the years. And since 1998, there are quite a few little babies that are almost ready to have their own babies already. That's when
those babies are having babies now.
My mom said that I was in your tummy when it was like, oh my word, don't remind me. Getting older. Yeah. But it's so exciting, and it's such a rewarding part of the education and just being with couples as they're getting to go through this whole experience of early parenting, and then supporting them for the first 2 years, afterwards with the clinic itself. So it's a very special, it's an honor to actually be invited into those family circles and do what I do,
Yeah, I must say, I truly appreciate the work that you guys do as midwives. Personally, I have 3 little ones as well, and all 3 of the pregnancies, I had a midwife, and oh my God, I would be nowhere without her. You guys are amazing.
I totally agree. We're quite isolated nowadays. In the olden days, in our mom's age, my age group, and that we had our own moms at home still. Nowadays everybody's quite isolated as couples, and so we don't have that old village sort of like school that are bringing up people in young or advising young couples anymore. So it's great that young couples are actually able to have we older women to mentor them and help them along.
True, true, true. No, honestly, I really appreciate what you guys do, and I always recommend every single mom who's DMing me, telling me about their pregnancy. I'm like, get a midwife. You'll be good to go. That's the way
It's
to
nice
go.
to have someone that knows you and you know them. You know, it's not just.
True. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right into this topic. Now, I have a few questions here that I'm going to be asking, and then of course, the guys that are online will be popping more questions that I'm going to try find while we go along. But right off the top of the list, the main question that has been coming through is, what type of clothing do you need to pack in a hospital bag for a baby?
Okay, that's awesome. So what I've done is I've made a little list because obviously, packing, it's always nice to have a checklist. So my advice at the moment is to keep it simple. As you mentioned earlier, in this whole time of COVID, what we're discovering is that the moms are not having very long hospital stays. Basically, the average is about 24 hours, literally even with Caesars. So you don't need to pack a lot of stuff, and you just need to have a bag that you can pack for both you and baby, maybe on a little gym bag or a small little sort of wheelie suitcase that you literally can just grab and go. If you go into labor and you need to get to hospital, you can just grab it. It's all set up. And I think, as you rightly say, a lot of moms ask, what should we pack? And you think to yourself, oh, well, that's quite simple, but it isn't really. You do get a sense of anxiety if you feel that you're not organized for some moms, and that you can feel that we don't know when babies are going to come. They don't announce themselves, sort of way in advance.
Yeah.
It's just a psychological readiness of having it packed. So what I usually suggest is that with babies, that can be quite messy. Even those that are newborn, comes out the bottom. So I usually suggest to pack 3 little onesies for them, little baby grows. And because you're not really 100% sure on the size of the baby that's going to come out, I suggest that you get 2 onesies that are 0 to 3 months. So if your baby is a little bit bigger than average, it still is going to be able to fit in its clothes. It won't be all shrunk in a baby grow that's too small, those feet will be pulled up. And then you have 1 newborn baby grow that's small. So if your little one comes out a little smaller, it's not going to be drowning, sort of hanging off their arms.
Shame, and they're always followed with those clothes.
It takes a while to grow into shame. We'll get there. So 3 little onesies and 3 little vests, especially now in winter. Most areas in South Africa at the moment are quite cold, so the moms are having their babies in the next few weeks. Will be long sleeve onesies, and maybe even a little jersey, a beanie, and then 2 little receiving blankets that we can wrap baby in whilst they're in hospital while you're feeding them, and then a nice warm blanket for when you're actually going home. So whether you're traveling, in your own private car, you're going on a taxi, whatever, you've at least got baby, you can wrap baby in a really nice, sort of sized blanket. Now, also what you need to do is to find out from your hospital. They will give you a list of what they supply. So some hospitals will be supplying the nappies and Vaseline for the bums, and the cotton wool balls, the surgical spirits for the cord. So they will obviously guide you into that. If your hospital says no, please just bring all your own things, and then you'll need to pack that into baby's little bag section as well. So that would be some newborn nappies, and a little bit of bum cream or some Vaseline. Certainly, Vaseline is probably the better product to use right in the beginning, because when the baby first is born, they have those black poos called meconium that comes out, and it looks like melted licorice, and it sticks to the bum. So if you have something that's really protects the bum, like Vaseline, it's easier to take it off than it does with normal bum cream. And then obviously, the surgical spirits or the cotton wool balls or a dummy. So that's basically all the baby really needs for that first 24 hours, 48 hours that they'll be in hospital. And what I can do for you is I've written this up in a little list that I'll post afterwards on my Instagram and my Facebook page. So if, because I'm listing all of these things, the mom's like, where's the pen?
I'm actually writing notes as well.
Okay, you go to my Instagram page. So that's basically for babies. I think that would be adequate for the first day or 2 in hospital.
Yeah. Do you think it's necessary to pack time essentials like your body washes and head shampoo? and all of that stuff?
Not for the baby, no. The general sort of feeling is that the babies don't get bathed for the first 24 hours or even 48 hours, because when they are born, we can just wipe off, any lac or any blood or anything like that might be on the baby. But there's that special cream on the baby that's natural called Vernix. And that is, it protects the baby's skin, has a natural disinfecting effect and a natural moisturizing effect. So we want that to stay on the baby's skin for as long as possible. And usually by day 3, reabsorbed into their skin anyway. So usually within the first 2 to 3 days, you don't really need any bath products straight away. Once you have.
And that's typically the length of hospital stay anyway, so it wouldn't be
Yes.
necessary.
It's likely at this point in time to be as quick as possible in and out. It's less exposure for moms, babies.
Another question is, when the baby is born, obviously baby will want to eat something. And not every mom wants to breastfeed. Is it necessary to bring formula and bottles, or just bottles? What are you supposed to pack in that case?
Well, that's a good question, because once again, I think the mom will need to find out from her particular hospital what their policy is. But I'm guessing that moms would probably be able to get ready-made, the formula that the hospital can make up for you and the bottles that you can make up for you. Because obviously if the moms stay there a little bit longer than 1 day, they will have a problem with sterilizing them. And, sterilizing their bottles and their teats, and to, boil a kettle, make a formula, etc., etc. So a general rule of thumb would probably be that if the baby has to be bottle fed for any reason, then the hospital should be able to help mom out. But obviously at home, she'd need to organize, having all the correct equipment at home. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. And then another question. What should mom pack for herself?
Okay, now ladies, this is where you have to just slow down a little bit. You just need to have one small little suitcase, because we're not going to be having days and days in the hospital, thankfully. So
bring your whole.
Yeah. So firstly, get yourself a checklist, all right? So like we've done now, so that when you're packing everything into your bag, you know what you've already packed in, because there are 1 or 2 items that you're going to be using on a daily basis that last minute pack-ins, all right? So you're going to just pack as much as you possibly can and keep it like in your passageway or something like that. So if you do need to go into hospital and in a bit of a hurry, you literally just grab your bag and put the last minute things in. So given the situation at the moment, I say to the moms, very often, just doing a bit of research, I say, well, put your birth plan in there, so that when you go to the hospital, you can show your midwife the birth plan that you had, etc., etc. And my advice is to just maybe change it a little bit to a birth wish, because unfortunately, the way things are working out at the moment is that you might not get exactly, what you dreamt of having in terms of how it's going to work out. And so, if you have already had a birth plan, that's fine. Pack it into your bag, but just keep an open mind as to how this is actually probably all going to pan out. Might not be exactly how you planned it. So basically, what you're looking for is what you're going to have in your bag. Like if you're going to want to have a nightie, then you need a front fastening nightie, so that moms can open it up and get to your boob without having to take your clothes off every single time. Or even maybe like loose fitting little drawstring bottoms, and those breastfeeding tops, or like a camisole top that you literally can just slide off and breastfeed and put back up again. So whatever's going to be easiest for you and most comfortable for you for the more or less 24 hours or so that you're in hospital. So you'll need your, if you're going to take a nightie, you're going to need gown and a pair of slippers. But I would suggest that you have like slip-on slippers, things that you can just push your feet into. Because, if you do end up with a Caesar, it's so like scary to get up for the first time, sliding off the bed and like sort of holding it all together. And then you're like, where's my slipper? Where's my slipper? Where's my slippers? And then you don't want to bend down to put them on. So something you can just put your feet into and, move on to the bathroom wherever you need to go. Breast pads and pads and things like that. Once again, you need to just check with your hospital if they're going to be supplying that, or whether you have to bring the stuff yourself. Generally speaking, the first 24 hours to 48 hours, mom's breasts are producing like a pre-milk or colostrum, and you don't tend to leak a lot with that like you do when you're breastfeeding. So you may not need to use breast pads, but just in case, it doesn't matter, just maybe pack in 2 or 3 breast pads. You might have to bring maternity pads, and then those beautiful sexy little mesh panties. They are the best and the most comfortable to wear. Just get keep everything loose as you possibly can, because anything tight, you're not going to have your figure back straight away, and like, you're not going to fit into your jeans. So,
Yeah.
loose tops, loose fitting undies, and things that are going to be comfortable. The pads that you're wearing literally come from your belly button to up your back, just they're so big. So,
No,
you
they
need to
really
have those.
do. They do.
Oh, they work well. But those mesh panties
Yeah.
hold everything in place. Yeah, then feeding bras, I just say to moms, you know what, just wear one pair and then pack one pair. So you'll have two, feeding bras, so that if you do leak onto them or something, like, you can put a fresh one on, so you've got the two there with you.
Yeah.
When you're in labor, what happens is that all the blood supply focuses on your womb and the contractions. So your hands and your feet kind of like are the last things that anybody has to worry about. So the blood supply doesn't go there. So you tend to find that your feet can be very, very cold whilst you're in labor. So make sure that you've got really nice warm socks that you can put on to keep yourself cozy. So pack those in as well. Things that make moms feel like they're quite relaxed. So things like your own pillow. If it's practical for you to take it with you, take your own pillow from home, because you're going to sleep on pillows that, sometimes it's not that comfortable for you. So having your own pillow smells like home, and it's just something a little more familiar to you, and things like that you can take along. And then obviously, whilst you're in labor, you don't want to have, your hair all over the place. I mean, you might blow at it before you went in, but it's not going to last like it for long. So take along a hairbrush, a scrunchie. Then also in your toiletry bag, go travel size, so get, those nice little those toiletry bags that you can see inside where all your things are, and then just decant all your things into little travel sized containers, because once again, a day or two, and so that doesn't take up too much space. So you can decant some of your favorite items and cosmetics and that into your little travel ones, and then you don't have to worry about collecting it, or when you're in a hurry to go to hospital kind of thing, it's all there for you. So they're travel size toiletries. And then one suggestion that I found I just was just Googling and just looking for some ideas, and they said take some earplugs along to hospital. Because if you're one of those people that find it really difficult to sleep in a hospital with other people in the ward with you, you're trying to rest even whilst you're in labor, you can hear other people's telephones going, just stick in some earplugs, and you can maybe get a good night's sleep, or even like, those, just eye goodies as well. Then also what you can add is, I think you can get them from discount. They look discount. They look like little squeezy bottles. You just squeeze them, and then the fluid leaks out. Those are very handy to take with you. You can literally just have some cool boiled water from the ward kitchen. And when you go into the bathroom afterwards to have a wee, and if you've got a cut or a tear, you're also nervous that the urine is going to burn you. And so using the squeezy bottle, you just squeeze the water over your vulva whilst you're busy weeing, and it just rinses it all away and makes it so much more comfortable. Also to clean yourself afterwards, if you do have a cut, you just use your squeezy bottle. It's just a little bit more hygienic. You can just sort of sit on the toilet and then just rinse yourself. So I thought that was a brilliant idea. Didn't have it.
No, that's a brilliant idea.
Also, guys, sanitizer. So just put sanitizer in everything, so you've got your hand sanitizer around. And then get spare masks as well, because, if you lose it or whether you're stuck, all right? So your face mask, so put one in your travel bag as well. If you can get yourself an FFP2 mask, all right, they're not very comfortable to wear, but they are certainly a lot, they're like an N95 respirator mask. I'll wear that in the clinic. And so admittedly, they aren't very comfortable because they literally don't let anything in and they don't let anything out. But that's what you want. So if you can get one of those, you usually can find them in places like Builders Warehouse and Micah and things like that. They're those, so that, if guys are working with asbestos in the roofing and stuff, that fine dust doesn't go through. And it's likewise, you're not going to get any viruses going through as well. So if moms are anxious about being in the hospital and walking through the hospitals and in and around it, mom's birth partner and mom can at least have a mask on that she feels a little bit safer with. So if you can get one of those, I would pack those. And then get lip balm. I just found wearing mine that the whole day you find like your face is just like dry afterwards. Mask on, so lots and lots of lip balm. That's actually very useful. A water bottle with a straw. That's also quite nice for when you're in labor, and you can just use your energy drink and you literally just go. So if you're lying down, you can just squirt it into your mouth whilst you're in labor. You don't have to get up and drink and sort of
Yeah.
You can put smoothies in there, whatever's going to be what you're using during the day. Whilst you're there, and then take a lot of little Ziploc baggies of different sizes. So if you've got like a pair of undies that you've rinsed, or a bra, or the baby's messed on a baby grow and you just rinsed it, you can put it into a Ziploc baggie for any sort of spare items that are floating around, or any damp things. So you've got your little packets that are quite handy to have. And then sort of like your snack pack, you need to just have another Ziploc baggie with some snackies in it. So I think that's one of the questions that you suggested would probably come up. When moms are in labor, your digestive system kind of like slows down significantly, because once again, all that blood supply and attention is directed to the uterus and how hard, and the womb, and how hard it's working during labor. So what happens is that if the moms eat too big meals, they're too big and too heavy, you get very nauseated as you progress in labor, and your body just says like, right, let's just clean this all out, and then mom is getting sick and it's not very comfortable. So small light little snacks, small light meals is actually what you're aiming for, and obviously to hydrate yourself quite often. So you want high energy, sort of high density kind of food. So you want like a banana that you can sort of peel and quickly eat. Energy bars, sweeties that you can suck, like a Super C or something like that. If you're really hungry, you could sort of have like a little a pasta salad, vegetarian pasta salad. You don't have meat or anything in it. That's not too heavy. So you're looking for things that are going to give you the energy, but they're light for you to digest. That's quite cool, And then afterwards as well, once you've had the baby, you can eat like enough for like 5 men.
Sorry.
So feed me. Then of course you can eat anything. It's not a problem. I mean, you must eat. But so pack lots. All right. So you're definitely going to be able to enjoy that. Take your own pens. All right, you don't want to be filling in any forms or signing anything with somebody else's pens. The least of anything else that you have to touch and not sanitize and things like that is more useful. Your ID box, your medical aid card, put those all into a little Ziploc bag, and they're also on this, in your case, ready to go. And then don't forget spare chargers for your phone, for your camera, for taking photographs, adapters in case you need an adapter for your hairdryer or for your phone. And I'm not too sure what some hospitals are wanting moms to bring their own bath towels or face cloths or anything like that. But once again, you can put those into a Ziploc baggie. I was just thinking like those nice travel towels, those microfiber towels. They're very absorbent, they use them for hiking and things like that. That would be quite easy for you if you do go and have a shower, or you're using water as a method of pain relief, that you can just dry yourself off with your own towel. And the microfiber towels tend to dry quite quickly. So if it's feasible for you to do that, it's just a suggestion to consider doing something like that. And then obviously like your labor ball and your massage creams and things like that. Obviously you can't put labor ball in your bag with your pocket next to your, if it's feasible for you to take it. If your hospital doesn't supply you with one, then at least it's, you'll have to take that kind of, so it'll be on your checklist that you're wanting to take along. I think that's about all that I could think of just offhand.
But I think you said you're going to be posting it on your page, so it'll be nice.
Then moms can actually just use it as their own checklists and then add their own.
If we missed something, they'll just see it there. You mentioned birth partners earlier. Now, during a pandemic with COVID-19, is it necessary to pack a hospital bag for daddy as well? Like, do they even allow them to come in?
Yeah, no, that chops and changes all the time. That's the problem at the moment with this whole thing, because I was just trying to research it earlier. I went on to the Department of Health and their website with COVID and things to see if there's any sort of standard advice to give the moms with this. I think it's probably a good idea to have a bag for dad. The problem is, and probably we can just address it at the same time, all right, is that things are changing a lot. I mean, I'm busy doing an online antenatal course at the moment, and I actually can't help these couples and give them anything definite at all about what to expect and to prepare for. Because what was happening 2-3 weeks ago, for example, the hospitals were happy that if the mum and the partner had a COVID test a week before due date or Caesar date or induction date, they were happy and they were comfortable with that. That has shortened drastically. And now they're looking at maybe at one point it was 72 hours before. And now they're also looking at possibly maybe even as close as 48 to 24 hours before, which is really, really hard to organize.
Which is hard because if you go into spontaneous labor, how are you going to get that test?
Exactly. So what that means is that moms and dads, like every 48 hours, would have to go for a test if they're unexpected. Totally, almost like impossible. So what would happen if, say, for argument's sake, your baby came earlier than what your expected due date was, or your date for your Caesar, or your induction, or anything like that? So you're going to spontaneous labor. If in that week you've had your test, all right, then it's still, for some hospitals, it's not enough. They will just still say, well, that's, you could have, you've got to go and self-isolate 100% in that week, go nowhere, see nobody. Dad can't go to work for how long, So there lies the problem. So if, say, for argument's sake, you didn't have a chance to go for a COVID test, they've got three sort of like sort of triage routes that people would go. So if you've had a test and they're accepting that, it's in time, you would go through the green section. Those birth partners would, if it's part of the hospital policy, those both partners can go with the mum into the labor area, or having the theatre and Caesars or whatever. I've had one or two mums that have been, the birth partners have been allowed to stay overnight with the mums, and then they both go home together. So in that instance, dad would have to, or whoever the birth partner is, would have to have some sort of overnight bag, similarly to the mum as well. A little toiletry bag and change of clothes or whatever. So there's no harm in preparing for that and being positive, but that's when I go back to in sense of birth wish now, it's not necessarily going to be your birth plan. So there have been instances then in that case where the parents were not, hadn't been able to, be tested. Then you will go through an orange section. What usually happens then is that the birth partner can't go in. Because if neither of you been tested, they don't want two untested people. So they will still test you, but you would have to wait 24 hours before you get your results. And so that is problematic for the moms in active labor. Then how on earth are you going to say to the baby, sorry, can't come for 24 hours, So that's going to be, this is where the problems are lying when they are getting to that point, And then, of course, if there's somebody that is positive, they will go the red route, and they will be, I definitely don't think that a birth partner would be allowed to go, and to minimize exposure to the staff and to the baby and to everybody else. So if the partner's been tested and they're well, you'll go the green route, and then everything, cross fingers that it's all going to pan out quite well. But so it does seem to be something that you can't say to parents that this is actually what to expect, because it seems to be changing. It's so fluid. It changes on a weekly basis. Just about. It depends on what area, your hospital, your gynae's protocol. So my advice to moms and to parents is to just, when you go for your next antenatal visit, either at the clinic or with your gynae or your midwife, and just say to them, look, what is their standard protocol for what happens when, and to just say, all right, what do you suggest we do? Where do we go? How far do we go through with this? What guarantees do we have that we could even end up with a completely spontaneous labor, and plan it in for and around that? So I really feel my heart goes out to moms to be at the moment. It's so stressful for them. I really just can't imagine.
It's stressful.
Sorry?
It's so stressful and so uncertain, because you don't know what's going to happen.
No, and you know what? We just don't even know how much longer this is going to last for, because, they're talking about us peaking only in sort of like August, September, and then you're going to have a lot of numbers, a lot of cases around. So, but they don't know, unfortunately.
They really don't know.
No, and so as I said, I've been trying to research this just for my own antenatal classes, and to just give them something to work with. And each week we just have a different story. Someday, and in my baby clinic, moms are coming in now after having their deliveries, and they've got some stories that they are all different. So it's a very, very hard one to answer. Other than possibly maybe, as I said, just trying to ask your gynae and get some for your caregiver. for them to give you a guidance closer to the time.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that ultimately they will get like a rapid test, that like, you know, like a pregnancy test. Yes, no,
Yeah,
go.
that it would be so easy. You just show up there, they test you, you good, go in.
Yes, and then straight
Not
away
to
get
have to.
your results almost instantly. You know, you don't have to wait, and then that's fine for those parents. But I mean, for moms that are in active labor, I mean, babies aren't going to wait. So,
Yeah. Do they allow parents to maybe FaceTime their partners or video call or
I'm
anything
sure
if
they
they're not?
would. I can't see any, you know, sort of medical legal reason not to allow that. You know, um, but I mean, yeah, these days, and you're just seeing their babies, whoosh, you know, sort of 2 minutes, like, oh, it's a girl, bye. You know, so it's actually
Yeah.
cool. It really is. I
Oh,
mean, I feel so heartbroken because everybody just dreams of that time to share that with their partner, and then they can't. You know, so
yeah.
we
You
just
know, the weird thing is our youngest daughter was born 8 weeks earlier. She was due in April. And as heartbreaking as it was to have her in the NICU, I said, I'm glad it happened because it would have been a whole different case with the COVID-19 and the lockdown and everything else.
Yeah, it's problematic. It's especially for moms that have got other children at home. You know, I mean, it's all fine and well if you've got a baby that's going to be in the queue, you can stay there, but you can't stay there for 8 weeks. And as soon as you leave the hospital, you know, you
It's
are
back.
now, yeah, you
Yeah.
can't come back. You can't go
Yeah.
back in. So it's, yeah. And once dad leaves, you can't go back in. So it really is very, very stressful for a lot of parents to be in this situation. It's very heartbreaking.
So what would you recommend that moms pack to make it a bit more special, to reduce the stresses?
No, I agree. You know, I mean, obviously things that are going to make you feel calm. So, things like your aromatherapy that is acceptable and safe for pregnancy and anxiety and things like that. Obviously, they won't allow you to bring an aromatherapy candle into the hospital because of all the oxygen. Then will go boom, blow us all up. So that's not going to be a good idea. So open flames, please, not allowed there. But you could maybe take a diffuser in and have some of, sort of your approved essential oils to make you sort of feel more relaxed. A tablet or camera to film, take special photographs, music on a, what they call a push playlist.
Yeah.
To have your music that you enjoy that will calm you. And then like you say, FaceTime, spend, sort of share it with family as much as you possibly can. But if you're battling with anxiety, you speak to your doctors because you really need to address that. I think it's very important to get help if they're feeling very super anxious. And
So one interesting question that I was actually asking myself, and I saw it came up here, is as a mom, once you've delivered your baby, what can you expect? Do they give you the baby? Do they take the baby away for testing and whatever? Or how does that work? What can one prepare themselves for?
Well, if both parents are negative, and because obviously now we know because they've been tested, then everything is completely like it used to be. I mean, the baby then would be delivered onto mom's tummy, and she would be able to breastfeed the baby. All of that kind of thing will carry on happening like it normally does. What they have done at the present moment is that a lot of the maternity wards have been converted into COVID wards. So what they're doing is that they've got like an admission sort of like laboring area, which is close to where a Caesar theatre would be in most hospitals. I mean, obviously it depends on your hospital. And so if moms are being booked for a Caesar, say for argument's sake, they would then go through the whole admissions thing, which is quite through the triage in the beginning. They would be not tested, but temperatures and blood pressure and all that kind of go through. Then you go into the hospital proper. And then you'll go through to labor ward. And obviously, if you're laboring, you'll stay in the labor ward. They prepare you for a Caesar. Once you have had your Caesar or you had your baby, you then move across to like a post-surgical ward. Or it depends on your hospital. If they've got this, then there'll be if you've delivered naturally, you'll just stay in the labor ward, in the ward there. If you had a Caesar, you don't go back to the maternity section, you go to a post-surgical ward. And that's where you'll stay for the 24 hours whilst you've still got your drip up or you've got your urinary catheter in and things like that. So then the babies then obviously would still come to mom, and the nurses will then help you latch the baby, and baby will be with you and things like that. If moms if mom is they're not sure if mom is definitely positive for COVID, then that changes a little bit. You know, then they try and sort of protect the baby as best they can. Once again, that does depend on your pediatrician and who the protocol that your pediatrician is going to be following. If moms are actively ill and they're running temperatures and they're really, really sick, then they will try, if it's practical, for the baby to be cared separately from the mom as best they can, so that the baby doesn't spend too much time exposed to mom. And then moms, obviously, they would prefer to feed the baby with the breast milk in a bottle until the mom is well enough and no longer, contagious to her baby. In pregnancy, there doesn't seem to be too much of a transfer between the via the placenta to the baby. That seems to be fine. But then obviously afterwards, if the mom is actively ill, then you don't want that baby close to you the whole time. But that's in the perfect world. I mean, sometimes not for all moms is that going to be practical, that they can have another person that can look after the baby, that they'll be able to express, then when you have the baby with you, just wear a mask, wash your hands, sanitize, follow the protocols. So generally speaking, if you've been tested, that everything will be the same. The baby will still come to you, still be with you. It's only if the moms are actively sick with COVID confirmed, they would possibly maybe for a bit.
All right. Do they still take the babies to the hospital nursery, or the babies now with the parents, with the mom, the whole time after delivery?
That's a good question. It's like that in some hospitals, but I think going forward, I think they will try and keep the babies with the moms as much as they possibly can, because obviously, once again, if you're going to be having 10 or 15 babies in one area, there's going to be that cross infection. So, or there could be. So I would imagine that going forward, it's going to be that the babies are encouraged to stay with the moms, so that they keep the mom and baby unit together and not expose them to anybody else as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing just to check with your hospital what to expect.
So usually under normal circumstances without the pandemic, you'd be in hospital for about 3 days after you have a C-section. Is that still the case?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. At least 3 days with 3 to 4 days with a C-section, and then anything from 24 hours to 3 days with the vaginal delivery. Obviously, the second time moms often want to go home because they kind of know what they're doing. And they want the other kids at home clamoring to come home, so they're like, okay, I'll get out of here, I'll go home. But they should be wise and spend the 3 days at home and have a break. But so unfortunately, for Caesar, moms are literally leaving within 24 hours. Drip out, catheter out, up you get, cheers, bye. Go home. Phone me if you've got a problem, which is a bit scary. Haven't really had, it's very scary because, often the moms haven't had that much time to really sort of realize they've become moms, and you're now going home and there's no nurses to help you, especially with lockdown when, you can't get your family to come and help you. And now you've got to try and establish breastfeeding, and the first 24 hours the babies are sleepy, they're not even actively feeding yet. So it's a big concern for moms that are post-Caesar to get as much help as they can.
Wow, it's really a struggle. But then another reason to get a midwife, just saying.
Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you know if there are any risks for mom and baby during this time, and how one can prevent or reduce any risk of contacting the COVID?
Yeah, I think given the situation that they're so strict around, I mean, I know we are, our hearts are going out to the moms and the dads and the birth partners, and that they can't be together. But I mean, really at the end of the day, they're doing the right thing. They're actually trying to minimize exposure to the moms, they're minimizing exposure to staff, because that's where you could get it from, is from asymptomatic staff. I mean, they go into the hospitals and they're screened every day with temperatures and things like that. But with that asymptomatic person is the sort of the problem. So generally speaking, though, you're going to be, everybody is being so carefully screened for each other's protection, so that once the moms are in a green ward, all right, you're pretty okay. I mean, and if you're wearing your mask and you're sanitizing your hands and you're minimizing your exposure to other people and things like that, it should be no different to anything else that you're doing. And then, of course, the whole 24-hour precautionary time is going to limit your exposure to other people. But I mean, obviously, if
Yeah.
you're starting to go into the orange zones and things like that, then you don't know who else is going to be around you. So it's a good thing that they're trying to screen people as close to admission as they possibly can. But yeah, it's, man, we need that rapid test type thing.
We do. We need it.
Pregnancy test.
Yeah. Is a baby supposed to wear a mask?
No. No.
Oh.
Basically, under the age of sort of like 3, I would be a bit wary of kiddies, wearing masks, because unfortunately, especially with the baby, babies are, they're nose breathers. They don't even know that if their nose is covered, that they have to open their mouths, and that's why they battle so much with colds, and they've got a snotty nose, and so having something like that over a tiny little face and nose like that is very dangerous. The babies could definitely suffocate like that. And so, any young child, I would be very careful with doing that, So, I mean, obviously it just depends on your child, but if you're putting it back and the child keeps on touching it and pulling it off, it's not going to be very useful either. But no, babies not be wearing masks. Can you imagine how small that is?
Yeah, that was one of the things that I was wondering, how do you put that on a baby? How do you make it stay on a baby without suffocating?
We don't cover their face. No, we don't cover their little faces at all.
Okay. Makes sense. I have one last question here. So mom has packed their hospital bag, baby's delivered, everything is nice and beautiful. They go home and now baby is due for immunization.
Yes.
What can we expect around that? Have processes changed? Is anything different?
Nothing has changed. Baby's first injections are done in the hospital. That would be his BCG or TB shots, as well as some polio drops. And then the next lot of vaccinations due are only at 6 weeks. So in that period of time, mom can stay mostly at home, other than just to go out and check that the baby's gaining weight, and check up with your midwife or your clinic that that the baby's feeding well and gaining weight. And then at 6 weeks, some pediatricians like to check the baby out again at 6 weeks. Although sometimes at the moment, that if it's a normal, healthy baby, they're saying let's just wait, because why bring a healthy baby into
the hospital, risk exposing the
it's fine, thanks, sending him home, So even with those 6 week checkups now, they're doing them less and less if the baby's healthy. So if your baby has been regularly checked by your midwife, or at your clinic, and we know baby is doing well, there's no real reason to go, at the 6 week checkup. All the vaccinations and the immunizations, rather, that the babies are due to have should all be done on time. All right. It doesn't make the baby's immune system any weaker. In fact, it actually bolsters that. And the problem is that we know so far, anyway, by research, is that children tend to actually manage this COVID-19, the SARS-CoV-19, all the names, quite well. And so you don't want your baby catching something that could possibly kill them, like the meningitises and the whooping coughs and the pertussis and all of those things. So in my experience, a lot of my moms were wanting to leave the immunizations and say, well, let's just do that, later on after COVID, etc. That's too long. COVID's going to be around for too long. So rather keep your child's immunizations and let's protect them from the things that are really at their risk of, that we know for sure, okay, like the measles as well, all of those vaccines that are due. So keep up to date with your child's vaccinations, because if everybody starts to default with that, or a lot of people default, we start having a collapse of our herd immunity. And then there's the risk factor of later on having epidemics of diseases coming back again, which is going to be like disastrous, So if parents can please just keep the clinic checks and the immunizations on track, we'll be protecting our children to do that.
That makes perfect sense. I was honestly one of those people who was worried, because my daughter is now 14 weeks and she's due for, I think the ones for 10 weeks or something. We had to delay that because she had another synergies in between. So they said, just wait it out a bit. But then I've been like, do I go? Do I not? What do I do?
That's scary. I know. I totally understand that parents would want to not have their babies in a sort of environment. And I mean, and the clinics are sensitive to that. They know that, And I mean, the nurses, they don't want to be exposed either, So it's a case of just sort of doing what is best for the babies. So yeah, I've just found that's been the case with my clinic. A lot of the moms who were maybe going to state clinics and things like that have reconsidered just now at this period of time when their babies are still so little to maybe do it privately if they can afford it. Because it is quite expensive to do these vaccines privately. Well, certainly in our area in Durban. A lot of yeah, the rest of the country, for some reason, Durban just like doesn't get it. The rest of the country can get state vaccines for free. So the private clinics can supply them. It's just us Durban people that are like, sure. Yeah,
they're too expensive.
We have to pay. Yeah, we have to pay for the state vaccines privately. So obviously for our Durban parents, it's a huge expense to have to do that. So a lot of parents are sort of at the moment reconsidering maybe just doing it one-on-one for now. But if that isn't an option for you, rather just still take your baby. Let somebody go with you, keep the baby in the car or away from everyone else. And when you sit in the queue and when they're ready, you say, okay, come fetch the kid and go back, That would be a safer option. Yeah. And I mean, like what you could also do is, some of the little safety chairs have like a little rain cover, like a little plastic rain cover or a little, sort of just put something over your child so that they're not, if you're walking through the hospitals and things like that, they're not exposed, But, yeah.
I see there's another question here. It's nothing about packing hospital bag, but Nelly says, when a mommy gets flu and you're breastfeeding, is that bad for the baby?
No, whenever mom has an illness, all right, then it's really important that she still feeds the baby, all right? Because what's happening is your body is making antibodies to whatever you've got. And so when you're breastfeeding, those antibodies will go through the breast milk and literally immunize your child against your flu or your tummy bug or whatever. So it's really important that the moms actually do. If you are worried about exposing your baby because they're so close to you, just wear your mask and wash your hands. And that's not just in COVID. That's it's all the time.
That's a daily thing.
Just wear your mask, wash your hands. You're not going to be breathing, but you must be getting those antibodies to your baby if you can. So no, you must breastfeed. You disappeared there for a moment.
I think this.
Are you back?
Yeah, back. But yeah, I think that's just about everything that we had here. Thank you so much for your time. Like you said, you're going to be putting up those checklists in your Instagram story. So I'll just put up on my page as well and then just tag you there so that they know where to find you and it's a cross info sharing situation.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed chatting to you. And all the best to all the mommies out there going to have their babies.
Yes. And thank you so much for sharing all the valuable information. I'm sure this is going to definitely come in handy for a lot of moms to be.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye. Have a great day. All right, guys. So that is the end of the conversation between myself and Sister D. Like she said, she's going to be putting up all of these important checklists that you guys will need to pack or that you have to remember to pack in your hospital bag. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it right here. Go ahead and check out her Instagram page is @smallbeginnings_DBN. She's going to put that up. Check it out. Take a screen grab so that you always have it with you. One very important takeaway out of this conversation is to always check with your hospital, with your gynae, with your midwife, with anybody and who's currently helping you through your pregnancy. Check with them what to expect, what is required, so that you're always, in a way, a step ahead of the COVID-19 situation and you're well prepared so nothing throws you off your feet. But yeah, that's it for today's chat. I hope you guys enjoyed and we'll see you guys on the next live chat. Bye.